What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 ways to run a 10-yard out. So we're going to talk about how to run a 10-yard out versus press, how to run a 10-yard out versus kind of like this catch technique, 2 to 3 yards off of the DB, and we're going to be talking about how to run a 10-yard out versus off-man inside leverage. So I hope this video gives you guys some value, but also, fellas, we came out with a new product on our website, our wide receiver gym bundle, okay? So what this is, it's a 2-month-long gym training program. So 60 days of gym workouts specifically tailored towards wide receivers. So the first month is a more like kind of, I wouldn't say beginner program, is a tough program, high intensity. Then the second month, we up the intensity. The exercises are more advanced. So if you want a 60-day wide receiver gym training program, check out that very first link in the description at a discounted price. You guys, hope we get you guys on that soon. Again, very first link in the description. Let's get started with this video. So first route we're going to be looking at here is Antonio Brown running this speed out against press coverage. Okay, so now he does a great job of looking this peek back technique, and this is something that you guys can do when you have to run the speed out. So when he's here, we see how this DB's kind of inside shade a little bit, mostly head up, right? So now he's taking away the inside. So we don't obviously want to force an inside release when I have an outside breaking route. Now, if we get press coverage and maybe he's outside shade, because that's a common question that I get asked a lot, especially by you guys, is like, well, what if he's outside shade and he's pressed up and I got to run an out? Don't force it. Just trust yourself at the top of the break. So Antonio Brown does a great job of giving him this move to the inside. So he gives this quick little hesitation hop, little head fake to the inside, gets him to sit there. Then he bursts up and takes the outside release. So the biggest thing when you're running a speed out against any one of these coverages, right, except off man, and we're going to get to that towards like the third clip, right? And so that's a little bit different, and it's going to be a little bit different coaching points. So that one's the trickier one, so that's one that you definitely want to learn about. But this one right here, it's all about being able to sell vertical. It's all about being able to get to this spot where you're here, you got your head down, you're in a great pad level position, you're running, and this DB can turn his hips. If I get that DB to turn his hips while I'm pushing vertical, while I'm running downfield, and I don't have any indicators of when I'm going to break, I'm going to be able to get some separation. So Antonio Brown, the 3 key things, we talk about this all the time, is your eyes, pad level, and then stride length and your speed, right? Those are the 3 things that's going to make this DB turn, right? Everybody can always say well, he shouldn't have turned his hips. Oh, well, he should have stayed here. He shouldn't have done this. But if you guys can make that DB do it and you can really force him to turn those hips and actually run out of there, that's going to get you a lot of separation, right? So that's what Antonio Brown does such a great job of here. Eyes vertical, good pad level, staying in stride. He's not chopping his steps when he gets to that break. Now, what does he do? He throws that little peek back technique at the top. That peek back is a great thing that you could do on any kind of outside breaking route. The main routes that I teach this peek back on, we'll go peek back on the speed out, we'll go peek back on a comeback, or we'll go peek back on a stop route, because that peek back gets that DB to overcommit. It gets him to think fade, and then we could just snap this thing off and be sudden, especially when I don't have any indicators. Now, when he does this peek back, notice that his pad level doesn't go straight up. He doesn't start chopping his feet. That's a mistake a lot of you guys will make. So I would recommend, if you guys are working on hitting this outbreak right in stride, right off of that like third inside step, that's usually how it goes when it's like a 10-yard out or like a 6-step out, third inside step. What I would focus on is just getting the technique down first, getting down selling vertical, getting down having that good pad level, staying with that same speed, and then breaking it off first before we worry about peeking back, right? But AB does a great job of peeking back right here, getting his DB to sit vertical even more, and then we just pop this thing off. And you see how sudden that break is? He's not chopping his feet at the top. You see this mistake so many with guys when they're working that 10-yard out is they'll get to the top of the break, they'll chop their feet, then they cut. And that just gives that DB more time to react, or they'll make this hard cut, then they take 3 steps after. You see, Antonio Brown does a great job of just cutting. It's a sudden cut. And how you hear me talk a lot about you want your feet to be sudden, right? You want to be able to pop this thing off right in the grass. When your feet are sudden, that's because your hips and shoulders commit to the break, right? If you have speed going forward, but you start to round out and you start to turn your hips, turn your shoulders before you make that cut's not going to be sudden. That's not going to give you any explosion to shoot you into the third phase of this route, right? So it's very important that you commit vertical, hips and shoulders stay there, pop that foot right in the grass, and then we'll be able to get out of there. And that's how you get sudden feet and get those explosive cuts. You got to commit to the break. Use your feet, use the suddenness of that cut and the explosiveness of that cut to be the thing that changes direction for you, right? And there's no indicator when you cut like this. You wait till the last possible second to cut. Now, again, he doesn't waste any time at the top of the break. You see how his second step's starting to open up, starting to get those hips turned, and he's starting to run out of this break. Continue to pump those arms, rip those arms out of there so we could widen the distance with this DB and we could win the race back to the ball. That's a textbook example of how to run this speed out against press coverage. Just watch it again, full speed one more time. Great job using this like hesitation hop, pushing up vertical, and then breaking this thing right off. Great route by Antonio Brown. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at this route from Elijah Moore against this catch technique. So what is catch technique? So Catch technique is when you got a DB who's maybe 2 to 3 yards off of you, right? And you want to close the distance with him, maybe change up a tempo, and then get up into this route, right? So what he's hoping that you do is you run and you just try to run straight to the route. He gets hands and reroutes you. So let's watch this thing full speed. So he does a great job of coming off the line of scrimmage, a little patient, get up to the outside, break this thing off, and again, sudden break. That's the one main consistent that we're going to see in all these videos, is that it's a sudden break. So now, DB, you see the leverage that he's at. He's right here. He's hoping that we think, and this is the mistake a lot of receivers will make, because they don't know how to plan for this. They can plan for press coverage, they can plan for zone coverage, but when a DB walks down 2 to 3 yards off and he sits there, right? What am I going to do? What do I need to have a plan that I'm going to be able to beat this guy with? He's hoping that you just think, oh, I'm just going to take this outside release, and you just run. So you run into him, he gets hands, and he forces you to where you're like 2 yards from the sideline and you're not getting any separation. So you got to make sure that you address him, right? You either can come at him with like a little bit of like a squirt release where you attack his midline. You either come at him with like a foot fire, you come at him with like an aggressive step. Or what Elijah Moore does right here is he changes up the tempo on the route. Changing up the tempo is a great way to work this speed out, especially against this type of a guy. Maybe you got a speed out, you're from the slot, and you got like maybe it's like a 4-4 look, right? So maybe you got like a strong safety head up on you, and you got to give him something before you push up to the route. Maybe you change up the tempo a little bit, or maybe it's a 4-3 with that outside backer. He's buzzing to the flats. He's going to try to get hands. You give him a little bit of a tempo change to throw him off. Then we get up into this route. So that's a great job. Moore comes at him. He gives this little hesitation. Then he bursts up field. Gets that DB sitting to the inside. If we could get his feet to stop, we could get him to guess, then I'm going to be able to get some separation, push up vertical, and then go. And that's a great example of this. And again, you see how he's here, gives a little peek back, much like the clip from Antonio Brown. This is the same exact route, except the way the DB changes up, the way the DB plays is what changes. If that DB changes up how he's going to play, we want to be able to do the exact same thing. We always have a plan for what they're going to be throwing at me. And that's exactly what he does here. He's able to pop this thing off. And again, sudden break. Why is that a sudden break? Good pad level, good speed into the break, and his shoulders and his hips were committed. That's what makes your breaks sudden. That's what makes your breaks explosive. And if you really focus on shooting in the grass, pushing off of that leg and opening up your hip, you cut out the time spent at the top. You don't chop your feet, especially on a 10-yard out, guys. That quarterback is trying to get the ball out of his hands as fast as possible. So if we could pop this thing off, get out fast, least amount of time spent possible at the top of the break, that will get us some separation, and that will consistently get us the ball. Let's watch the thing again full speed one more time. Great job by Moore changing up tempo. So that's the second way we want to be able to run a 10-yard out. Second way, when they're in catch technique, that's how we can run this. Let's watch it again full speed. So we come up here, attack him, change up the tempo, push up vertical, sudden break, and let's get out of this route, okay? So now we're going to be looking at Chase Claypool here, right? So now this is off man. This brings us to the third way that you can run a 10-yard out. So DB's inside shade off man, right? Maybe about like 7-8 yards off the ball, right? So now, what does it look like I could just do here? And this is what a lot of people make this mistake of. Oh, well, he's inside shade. I got an out route. My split's already cut down. I could just go straight up vertical and run to the sideline. That's what he wants you to do. He wants you to take that straight outside release, just go, get on your inside hip, force you to the sideline, and make that a super hard throw for the quarterback. Trust me, from a quarterback perspective, I don't want to throw a speed out when that DB is on your inside hip. So let's take a look at what Claypool does here. He stems him to the inside. He attacks his midline, gives him a rocker step, and look at all the space that he just created for himself. The ball was late, which is the only reason the DB had a chance to make it, but even a late ball is a completion when we do our job off the line of scrimmage. So let's talk about this. So inside shade, you want to angle your stem to the inside and attack his midline. So that line that goes down the middle of the DB, that's where we want to try to attack. Because why is he even inside shade in the first place? And this goes the same thing. You guys can think about this the same way as if you're going to be running like an inside breaking route, right? So why is he inside shade in the first place? He doesn't want you to cross his face. He's got no help over to the inside. The sideline is his help right now. So he's going to try to force you to go to the outside, force the outside release so he could wall you to the sideline and then make a play, right? So if he's inside shade like this, head up, you want to square him up, attack his midline. So what's he coached to do in this situation? He kind of plays this wrong because he backpedals. What you're coached to do is keep your leverage, because let's say Claypool had a dig route right now. He could just give him a move to the outside and then bam, he's off right now, or run a post, or run just like straight off on a curl. So this DB played this thing kind of poorly. What that DB wants to do is keep his leverage to the inside and stay on the inside shade. But again, if he were to do that and he were to keep his inside shade, look at all the space I just created for myself. So your stem, when you have an outside breaking route, like an out route, even hell, a comeback, sometimes not necessarily, more like a corner. A comeback's a little tough. But if you have an out route, corner route, fade route, this is how you want to attack this DB. Stem him to the inside, attack that midline. If he's able to back up like this, we already won, because all I got to be able to do is give him that move to the inside, threaten him to where he doesn't want you to go. He's inside shade because he doesn't want you to go inside shade. So you got to threaten him to the inside, threaten that you're trying to cross his face, and then get him off that platform so I could create all the space in the world. Now, what he was supposed to do, he keeps his leverage to the inside. No problem at all. I still throw that move. I still throw this rocker step like Claypool does. I give that head and shoulder fake to the outside. Maybe he doesn't bite as much, but maybe he stays there. And then look at all the space I created for myself. It's just very important that when I get to this point, I focus on accelerating out and driving off this break to widen the distance with that DB. That's a great rider by Claypool. Let's watch this thing again, full speed one more time. So great job squaring him up, attacking that midline, giving that head fake, and accelerating off this break. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please leave those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And also, fellas, if you guys want our wide receiver gym bundle, a 2-month-long training program for wide receivers, specific exercises to improve your speed, get you bigger, get you stronger, get you faster, and make you a better route runner and more explosive wide receiver, check out that very first link in the description, discounted price. Hope we get you guys on that soon. I'll see you guys next time.